I think they really like him. I don't think it's a reach here, guys. Right? This is a pretty easy connect the dots. Like, I think they believe he also is going to bring the gravitas to the room that they need because they woefully misjudged the character of their building and their locker room. And when I say woefully, you couldn't swing and miss where it's a Javi Baez strikeout.
Right. The ball's 4.5 feet outside in the dirt, and you're swinging.
That's what it's the gif you see all the time where the ball is 5 feet outside and Javi's swinging it.
Yep.
That's how badly Ryan Poles swung and missed at the great culture.
I don't know if he knows what character looks like.
I have no clue.
If he thought they had something in the room, well, he misidentified it.
Completely.
Yeah.
And so now you get a slightly older coach that's been around, that does command a certain level of respect and can command a room. And I think they're thinking to themselves, because the position they've put themselves in, this is the guy we have to go get. We can't take a chance on a young guy who's never done it because we don't know if he can, and we know Mike can. Whatever his shortcomings are, we'll deal with it. But we need someone that's going to fix our locker room, because all the culture stuff we talked about over the last 14 months actually is non-existent.
Yeah.
So they've put themselves in this position, as they often do. And yeah, Chris, I think if they go out and they bring him in for an interview and we find out he's there all day and they take him to dinner, I mean, yeah, again, it sure feels like it's lining up for Mike McCarthy to be their coach.
It's looking that way.
I don't know what other suitors Mike's going to have here. I mean, obviously there are vacancies that still need to be filled around the league. I'm going to play this Albert Breer cut real quick. This is Breer earlier today on Cap and Hoodie. I was listening to the guys this morning, and obviously they started with Albert on the whole Mike McCarthy thing, and now that he's available, if he makes sense for the Bears, this is what Breer said about Mike McCarthy earlier today.
And players love him. You know what I mean? Like, I think the guys in Dallas would tell you that. Like, he's innovative in the way that he takes care of them. He, over the years, has changed his schedule up. For a guy who's kind of old school in some ways, I think Mike's very forward-thinking in others, and he can be demanding, too. And, I think most people would be surprised if you put and I'll send you this, Cap, in the break maybe, but I put a side-by-side, like one of those blind resume things in a mailbag like a week or two ago of McCarthy and Mike Tomlin, and I'm telling you, their records look very, almost identical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's, I don't know what it is, but the perception of those two, is very, very different. But if you look at it, really, the reality of it is that, they're not all that different. From a record standpoint, from a production standpoint, Tomlin's been in the playoffs more, but McCarthy's had more consistent playoff success. So, and you are going to get a guy who's going to work directly with the quarterback too, and has developed quarterbacks. Like, he was a huge part of the development of Aaron Rodgers. So, I think in a lot of ways, Mike McCarthy does make sense. And, if you're looking to sort of stabilize some of the organizational chaos you've had, you'd do a lot worse than having Mike McCarthy in there.
That's a pretty good summation. I think that's the way a lot of us feel. Again, I don't think it's a big splash hire. I don't think it's all that exciting. Could it work? I suppose it could. I do think a few of those things that they need right now, he could kind of clean up and take care of. Again, I don't know how it got so sideways on them. When Albert Breer says the organizational chaos, that's all there's ever been up there under George McCaskey.
Yep.
All there's ever been has been organizational chaos. That's it.
And
that's all that they've done.
What I would prefer to hear out of Albert Breer is you couldn't do better than getting Mike McCarthy in there. Instead of you couldn't do better than getting McCarthy, you could do worse. It's like saying, you could do worse than having Mike McCarthy.
It's a good point.
What a home run hire.
Yeah.
Oh, McCarthy for this team, absolutely perfect. Well, you could do worse. It's not really a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, could anybody qualify it if that's what happens as a home run hire? I don't think so.
I guess my question with McCarthy is, and I'm trying to go through the rosters to see if this is true, when has he done more with less? You know what I mean? Like look at the roster of the Lions. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who they turned into a stud receiver. You've got all these guys that they've taken late in rounds and turned them into guys. They made Jared Goff a good quarterback. Whereas McCarthy, like, you've got
could you
one of the
say he
best receivers in the league in CeeDee Lamb. Like, that was packaged for you. Like, when has he done more offensively with lesser players?
Could you say Devontae Adams wasn't a first-round pick? I mean, a lot of those Packers wide receivers that they thrive weren't.
Currently. I'm not going back 10 years. I'm going back his time with the Cowboys. No. Why are we?
Wait,
no,
why
no.
can't you go back?
Because
It
what
happened.
have you done for? Because what have you done for me lately?
Truncate it.
Don't
what have
go
you done
back,
for me
Carm.
lately?
Don't go back.
Make it small.
No. What have you done for me lately?
Well, okay, you're putting an interesting little caveat on that.
Well, no, because
but,
the reason is if we were going back 5 years and he was leaving the Packers to come here, people would be more excited because he won a Super Bowl there and all that kind of. People don't like him because he's coming from the Cowboys and he hasn't won anything with the Cowboys. That's why people are down on McCarthy.
He went 37 and 50. What is it? No, 36 and 15 over a 3-year stretch. Pretty good.
I know that's the crazy thing. Like when you Breer, we did this exercise recently too. When you do the side by side with like he and Tomlin, it's kind of incredible how
not only that, but he
eerily
did
similar
it in a dysfunctional situation with the owner.
And yes,
Your owner added to your dysfunction.
Yeah.
Your owner added to the disarray that one would have when trying to go through a training camp.
Yes.
He added to the confusion. He added to the problems. He didn't make things easy on anybody that was there. I mean, I don't want to be put in a position where I got to defend Mike McCarthy, but here we are.
We find ourselves doing
Yeah,
that.
Sounds
a
like
little
you're going
bit.
to have to be
Yeah.
in however long time it is before they hire him.
It sounds like we're doing that though.
Well, they're going to have to do it. Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, Flanders, old George Flanders McCaskey, they're going to have to do it, not me. I get to just look at it from afar and analyze.
I do feel like it's going to be a very sort of like lukewarm response. And just as we've taken phone calls on this in the last week, don't you kind of feel like that's the way Bears fans mostly view this? We've had some more positive than others. We've had some say, oh, my God, that'd be terrible. But I feel like the meaty part of the curve consists of, like you said and like Albert Breer said, you could probably do worse now. That's not the best ringing endorsement.
No.
But I feel like most Bears fans are like, all right, I guess I'll give it a chance. I guess I'll give it a chance.
You're going to talk yourself into it again.
It's going to be like the John Fox thing, you guys, where it's like, all right, older coach, few skins on the wall, like, he's got some gravitas about him. He's been around. Okay. Now, that was a complete and total disaster. I don't think this would be as bad. I think the quarterback situation alone and some of the offensive skill position players that the Bears have would make it better right now. But doesn't it feel like we're going to, it's like what would that be, 2016? Do I have my timeline right? 2016 all over again, where it's like, all right, John Fox, he's been around. He's got the command of the room. Like, we'll give it a shot. I feel like that's what we're going to do again here, guys. Mike McCarthy's record is more impressive than Fox's was, too. Don't get me wrong. But, like, I feel like that's the reaction that we're all going to have.
All right, here I want to throw a couple names at you guys. One, would you feel better about McCarthy over Pete Carroll?
Yes.
Yerk?
Somewhat, yes.
Somewhat. Okay.
He's 11 years younger and his offense.
55-45 with McCarthy.
Yeah.
Okay.
55-45.
Would you feel better with Mike McCarthy over Brian Flores?
Probably. But that's closer for me.
Yurko?
Because your quarterback needs developing, I'd say I'd rather have an offensive coach.
That's why I'd lean that way.
And then, Carm, you started
Except
the show.
for Vrabel.
You started the show with envy.
Yeah.
A team that I continue to look at, which I think a lot of Bears fans look at based on choices that were made last offseason. Would you feel better about the Bears with Mike McCarthy over Dan Quinn? Because like a year ago, Dan Quinn wasn't
right.
What we
It
now
would have been
see.
like, oh, Dan Quinn, no, you
Right,
want
right.
Yeah, you want an offensive guy.
Right.
And look at the way that's worked with the young quarterback because Cliff's helped him. That's a good one. I'd probably say I want to lean offense. That's just the way I am.
So then does Cliff Kingsbury become a hotter name by comparison to Mike McCarthy? McCarthy has the credentials.
I don't need Cliff Kingsbury here as the head coach.
Well,
I don't.
If Vrabel was hired and he hired Kingsbury, I think that's a great combination.
Vrabel.
Oh, yeah.
Kingsbury?
Well,
If it was,
Yeah,
but
that
can't happen though.
can't
That's
happen.
the problem. It can't happen.
Right, that can't happen.
Last year that could have happened.
If it was Vrabel and McDaniels, I think we would all have been like, hey, that's okay.
Last year when the Bears were opening it up and they had Eberflus, if Eberflus said, "I'm going to bring Kingsbury in," that would have made sense.
Yes, but they were afraid. He was afraid of
I
Cliff
know
Kingsbury.
why he was afraid. He didn't want to lose his job. I understand.
He lost it anyway.
Yep. That's because there was a mutiny in the clubhouse, in the locker room.
Oh, but the culture, though, it's
The
strong.
culture, yeah. Well, he's like
And your-
Captain Bligh,
and your coach,
Captain
you know,
Eberflus.
Your coach is the right man to get you. He got you through some tough times. Now he's the right man to
He
keep
did,
you
though.
going forward.
He did get him through tough times.
I just think by default, some of the names that the Bears still have on the list, outside Ben Johnson, continues to lead me towards McCarthy.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Ben Johnson's the one I want more than anybody else. And after that, again, I think like you're gonna talk me into this. I'll be like, okay, Mike's got. I've been a critic, but he's got some very impressive things on his resume.
including working with two young quarterbacks that he
Yes.
developed.
Yes.
And now Dak may have not been quite as youthful, but he still came in when he was relatively young.
Yeah, I mean, Dak was what, only in his probably third year, give or take, when Mike got there?
Yep.
You know, so you're right. He was still, let's see, Dak was 16. Okay, so Dak was actually, what was that? It was his fifth year. So, yeah, man, Dak goes all the way back to 2016. He started getting better under Mike McCarthy. And Dak had a 37 touchdown, 10 interception season under Mike. He had a 36-9 season under Mike. Quarterback rating of 105 a couple of times under Mike McCarthy.
What did he do before McCarthy?
You know, he was
it similar?
He had thrown without Mike McCarthy in his first 4 seasons. So Mike got there in his fifth year. Yeah. Now, in Dak's fifth, in COVID year, Dak got hurt too. He only played 5 games. So it's a tough year to gauge. In his first 4 seasons, he threw 30 or more touchdown passes only once. He would go on to do it 2 more times in 4 subsequent seasons under Mike, but 2 of those were injury-plagued years. The 2 years in which he played full seasons under Mike McCarthy, 37-10 touchdowns, interceptions, 36-9, and quarterback ratings of 104.2 and 105.9. Those were his best seasons. The best seasons of his career certainly came, and it helps when you have Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb.
It doesn't hurt.
But came with Mike McCarthy as the play caller and as the head coach. I guess maybe Kellen Moore might have called plays for a little bit there at some point. I think Mike might have relinquished some play calling duty at one point. But, yeah, with Mike as the offensive guy and the head coach, you know, you did see his best seasons. You told us what Aaron Rodgers writes in the book about Mike.
Yeah. A couple of key changes that helped him in his career. Period.
Yeah.
Boy, McCarthy.
I'll keep my fingers crossed and hope that it works. I don't know. I don't know that anybody's looking upon us with envy, though.
No,
the way,
it depends.
the way we watch the Rams and go, man, I wish Sean McVay was our coach.
I want to see who he brings with him.
I do, too.
Who's he bring with him?
That's a great, like Brian Schottenheimer's his offensive coordinator now. You know, you wonder if Brian's got a good shot to keep that job and come with him. Mike Zimmer, I guess, is contemplating retirement. There was also some buzz that had he stayed, he was going to make a change anyway. Yeah. Zimmer's got to be pushing 72, right?
He's up there.
I would think.
Yeah,
TOO, not like.
Yeah. He's up there.
Pushing, not TWO. Yeah, I would think
68.
68. He's pushing it. Yeah. So
He's
there's
up there.
Some thought that he might retire. I don't know. He's got a lot of branches, though. He's coached in this league forever.
He's got a full pension coming to him.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Good for him.
He could hang up the cleats and go down to Florida and join John Fox on the old boat there outside of
Go with Foxy, yeah.
Yeah, right there outside of Marco Island. You have himself a good time.